How far would you go for love? What would you give up? Would you sacrifice your health, others, your humanity, everything? How far can you go before you lose everything? This is Signalis, a sci-fi survival horror that places you inside a facility looking for someone you love in a place where only monsters and decay remains. Signalis is a unique world, having replicas, biomechanical engineered robots made for certain purposes. Perfect soldiers, miners, administrators, even designs so powerful they're almost revered as gods. You play as Elster, or LSTR-512, a unit that specializes as a combat engineer, normally working on ships. With horror that can only be described as Lovecraftian, the game has an incredible soundtrack that truly makes the game click. The game is as much a puzzle game as it is a survival horror, having some puzzles that are simple and to the point, and others that made me walk around the whole map and feel lost and confused. The complex story had me questioning myself when I was playing, but when all the pieces come together, interesting things all seem to fit in place. The beginning of the game starts with... Wake up. Elster opens her eyes after coming out of her chamber in the ground. Who told Elster to wake up, we have no idea. But we are on a ship called the Penrose that has crash landed. The functions of the ship are faltering. We can see that the ship is face down on a cold, snowy planet. Elster finds a photo of a girl and searches the ship for a way out. Using the game's item mechanics, we can merge a broken keycard with tape to get a suit to survive the cold conditions. Treading through the snow, we go through a gate, then find a giant hole that we jump down. In this strange, seemingly filled blood pit, we enter another hole and find a strangely normal room. The room has a few significant things, but the most important of them being The King in Yellow, a notorious book that supposedly induces madness and manipulates whoever reads it, leading them to a terrible fate. Elster even notes, "It feels like it's calling to me." She takes the book and the camera pans to the monitor that turns on. A German number station starts reading out a series of numbers. This flashes photos of places and Elster looking at the monitor. Great holes secretly are digged where Earth's pores ought to suffice, and things have learned to walk that ought to crawl. Remember our promise. Text appears on screen that translates to sacrifice. We see a girl with white hair and then the text we've seen at the start of the game. Wake up. Chapter 1. Synchronicity. We get back to Elster looking at herself in a bathroom mirror. Going out to the lobby, Elster remarks that she has no need to use the access lift to the surface anymore. This facility is called the S-23 Sierpinski. This facility is full of lifeless replicas, and Elster even notes how terrible of a condition they're in with rotting components. We go through the rooms and meet Star, or a STAR unit. Quick side note, all character names in the game for replicas are their actual model names. Star, STAR. Star tells us we should leave the place, but Elster knows that isn't an option. We show her the photograph and she tells us if there's any Gestalt or human workers still alive, they would be in the mines below the facility. She tells us she'll be on her way once she recovers. We take a keycard in the same room and use it to enter an office that has a drawer with a pistol. Usually, in games like these, getting a weapon means we're gonna have to fight and the corpse is getting back up. We take our new sidearm and put a few rounds into the enemy. Signalis, being a survival horror, relies entirely on resources, healing, ammo, tools, all these things you need to keep in mind while playing. The enemies don't drop items. It feels punishing to defend yourself, needing to stomp your enemies while they're down to save ammo. Aiming has a unique mechanic where the longer you aim, the more precise and damaging the shot will be. Although sometimes this is hard to do if you get cornered and all ammo reservation goes out the window and you just start spam clicking. We go up ahead and meet a Gestalt by the name of Issa, blood on her hands after killing a monstrous replica with a knife. She tells us she's also looking for someone and wishes us well before leaving. We jump into a hole in the ground and see a replica chopping meat. This area is what I'd like to call the pure gameplay area. The cycle would be going from the story/cutscene section into the gameplay section. I'll skim over some things, but most of them are notes and posters for world building. Here we explore, fight more of these replicas, and solve puzzles. One of the more important puzzles involve two broken keys that you can combine to open a box with a butterfly on it. Box opens with a strange artifact called the Plate of Eternity. We touch the plate and get transported to a strange separate location. We enter a house and obtain a radio. This radio will be very important, needing it to fight a certain kind of enemy and to solve more puzzles. We put the frequency to the number on the door and it opens and we return back to the storage room with the butterfly box. We use the radio to find the code to a safe where we get a keycard so we can access an elevator. We check the first floor and see Issa again. Ah, it's you. I'm glad you're still okay. Have you found what you're looking for? I'm looking for someone too, my sister. If you see her, would you tell her I'm looking for her? Don't worry, you'll recognize her when you see her. Have you ever wondered if you're speaking to someone for the last time without knowing? I wish I could go back so I could say something else. You don't need to worry about me. I can take care of myself now. I need to stop relying on others. That's why she left me, after all. I'm sure of that now. We take the elevator to the 3rd floor, but the power gets interrupted. We lose our elevator key and need to explore this floor on our own. We go down the hall and see... We grab the shotgun and we can meet a Eula unit on this floor who says, "Everyone's turned weird. I'm the only one left. I think. Will I get sick like the others too?" Seemingly some kind of infection is being spread that is causing the replicas to become these monsters. For the 3rd floor's gimmick, we need 5 separate keys to open a door. We find the water key in a flooded area that we need to pump, the air key in an air vent, a fire key that we can find in a furnace, an earth key that we get from a rock. The last one is a gold key that we get from a video cassette that means the way home. The cassette, like the plate from before, transports us somewhere or sometime. This time we're on a train and we see a girl with white hair. We try to approach her, but the lights flicker and she vanishes, leaving only the key behind. We use all 5 keys and open the door with a safe room and a hole in the middle. Elster jumps down and... Mina. This is Signalis' first boss. Fighting the hulking beast called Mina, a replica made for mining in harsh conditions. She fights us with her giant weapon made for mining with lasers. We fight the Goliath, who's only able to be attacked when blood flows from their mask and becomes a weak point. Elster locks in and takes down the mining unit, yet seems to feel remorse for the rotting titan. Small text appears that translates to, "We are all flesh, and to flesh we return." Someone comes down the elevator, model ADLR. Adler. A visitor. Welcome to our facility. You've caught us at an unfortunate time. How can I help you? I'm looking for a Gestalt. A worker at our facility? Let me see that picture. Alina So. I believe she's one of our factory workers. However, you shouldn't have returned. It is calling for me from below, the song of a god that whispers to the sleeping, dark sun setting over black ocean, a red eye in the sky staring, unblinking forever. And deep below the earth, await answers to questions yet unasked, a dream about dreaming. We see Issa sleeping in a dark, empty classroom. I must have fallen asleep while waiting for Erica. Did she already go home without me? We wanted to get some books from the library together. I should check if she's still here. Issa goes down the school hallway and sees the same white-haired girl getting bullied by other students in gas masks. German text is on screen that is hard to see but says, "In the end, it was my sister and not me who came to Ariane's aid. Our short friendship was for me, forever, from that moment of paralysis overshadowed. I have always been useless." Issa's memory shows us Ariane, a friend of the two sisters. Issa's conversation with us before starts to make more sense. She had to rely on her sister to stop them from bullying her friend, because she couldn't do it herself. She is doing something now with the action of trying to find her sister. Elster opens her eyes. In the elevator shaft, countless bodies of other LSTR units cushion her fall. On this floor, we jump into a hole and see a cutscene of Issa as Adler enters the room. Adler, the administrator, puts on a calm and collected attitude that's a farce. I'm afraid the commander won't receive any visitors at the moment. But perhaps I can be of assistance instead. Who are you? I'm the administrator of this facility. Please, there's no need to be afraid. I'm just here to help. A photo of Erica, Issa's sister, shows on screen. None of us are here by choice, and no one will miss us. We get back to gameplay and see the room that Issa was trying to access. In this room lays a strangely lifeless Falk unit. In files, said to be the strongest of replica models, a fitting choice for commander. She holds an owl artifact that we can't open, and her diary is in the corner. I don't know how much longer I can go on. I do not want to live anymore as what I have become. The red eye beyond the gate showed me. No, touched me, poisoned me. Feels like my mind has been contaminated, defiled by another person's memory. I'm no longer fully myself anymore, but I've not fully become someone else either. I'm stuck here, between her and me, with half-formed dreams and recollections penetrating my brain and tainting my every action. Who is she? Who is that white-haired girl? Why do I long to see her again? Why would she curse me like this? From this note, we can assume Falk is seeing Ariane. But why? We won't have the answer to this until much later. On the same floor, we find a strange side area of a room. In this room, we find an ARA unit, and a very important file. This file has some very important lines about the psyche of the replicas. This file talks about persona degradation, which means whenever a replica model experiences new scenarios, their mind will start to fade from their intended working purpose. They attempt to stabilize the progression of this by giving the replicas items they like and things to do. File also brings up the important term that is a bit complex to understand called bioresonance. Bioresonance is a power that only a few have that allows them to affect the physical world purely through mental willpower. This same power is what allows the creation of replicas. The ARA unit in the room fixes our flashlight and talks to us. Can you believe this? All these files. They think they know us so well. So much talk about persona and stabilization. In the end, they just want us to shut up and work until we die. What a joke. Strangely, she tells us, "Oh, it's you again," even though this is our first time meeting her. On this floor, we also find a weapon case with a revolver. This weapon feels so splendid to use. We find the proper frequency to open the owl box Falk is holding. With this, we go to a room with more items and a note. Keep an eye on Adler. He's hiding something from us. There was nothing in his diary, but when I probed his mind, there were memories of an Elster unit working at Sierpinski. There's no record of that model of replica ever being deployed here. We can also find a record about Adler units, and how they are very emotionally dependent on their commander. With this Falk unit seemingly in a coma, this could be the reason Adler is seemingly gone rogue. We can also find a Calibri unit, who has a sort of hive mind. With all other units becoming monsters, this Calibri wishes she had become one too. Now she sits in a corner of this room, huddled up and alone. We solve a puzzle in Adler's room and find his administrator card and diary. In the diary, Adler is gradually losing his mind, as every page he writes is on the exact same day, and he has no recollection of writing them. He seems to notice that something is very wrong, and time seems to be repeating. The diary ends with, "The answers lie below. I can feel it. Someone or something calls me from there, in the mine." With Adler's keycard, we do the same, and go into an elevator for the mines. We begin our descent. Chapter 2. Liminality. The chapter begins in the mines, showing us Issa hiding from the maddened Adler. "I know you're here. I've done this countless times before. You don't belong here." Issa gets the upper hand, stabbing Adler in the eye as he falls into the pit. Zyklus, Zyklus, Zyklus. A German word that means cycle. The Adler unit is adept in noticing details, and it is clearly emphasized that some sort of loop is at play, with Adler saying, "I've done this countless times before." While it may not be so much as a time loop, there is definitely something repeating that is altering the mind of the replicas. The elevator stops, and we enter the mines. We can find the mining guns that the mining units use here. We also find a diary from Alina, the girl in the picture, the person we've been looking for. It's worse than I thought. Everyone has disappeared. I still haven't found any trace of Elster. It's as if she'd never been here. Something's wrong with the protectors, those that are still around. A guard spotted me sneaking out of the medical wing, and she let out a monstrous scream as she chased after me. When I looked back, I saw her face, and now I can't forget. Like she's been in some horrible accident. Elster is getting closer. If Alina has been writing in the mines, we must be making progress. We also find a mina unit named BEO. Unfortunately, they can't move and their death is just a matter of time, stating that, "Don't worry about me, there are many replacements. We're just replicas after all, right? In the end, what's one drop to an ocean? When I die, they'll just make another." Fully embracing the idea that replicas are all they are. When they serve their purpose, blow a fuse, get rusty, they'll just be replaced. They thank us for talking to them and wish us well. We go through the area fighting some honestly pretty strong enemies. Despite having an incredibly menacing design, fighting the mina isn't that difficult if you just hide behind cover. The giant hatch in the middle opens, and we slide down to a familiar area. Here we see the pool of blood from Adler where he fell into the depths. With nowhere else to go, Elster enters the pit, and the game flashes a photo of Alina. A countdown is shown, and we are transported to a beach. Here on the beach, there are multiple notes we can see, but it isn't long until the countdown hits 0. Return to Elster. Surrounded by bodies in this pit, a rusted area seemingly getting more and more corrupt the further we delve down into the facility. One of the most frightening places of all is when we see the rusted landscape with a giant pulsing flesh pit that we can jump down. We run into this monstrosity, arms spewing from every angle, and the beast throwing itself at us with every chance it gets. In the corner, Issa is desperately trying to pick bullets up off the fleshy ground to help us kill this monstrosity. And then... the recoil knocked her out from the force of the rifle. We take Issa to a safe space, where we let her rest, and continue exploring the fleshy pits of the Sierpinski facility. We go through more puzzles to progress the game that honestly made me feel stupid when I was playing. One of them was a ring puzzle that had me ripping my hair out not knowing I was just missing one ring to actually complete it. We find a bottle that we give to Issa for her to wake up. Issa gives us the rifle that Adler had, and now it's our rifle, one of the most powerful weapons we can collect, and she tells us she needs to rest for a bit. The important puzzle on the flesh floor is a door that is similar to the 5-key door from earlier, although this time, we need to find plates, like the plate from early in the game. Although these plates don't have the same memory-like transportation effect, they are still important to progress. We go puzzle by puzzle, getting plate after plate until finally we get the last one and open the door. We see a strangely familiar set of stairs. They're the ones we went down towards the start of the game, although this isn't right. They're rusty, distorted. We see the ominous gate, and Adler is waiting for us. It's impossible to move on. I've been here so many times, but I've never returned. The commander never spoke about what she saw out there. I'm sure whatever it was what made her fall sick. Something about her changed when she returned. She was no longer our beloved leader Falk. What waits beyond the threshold? It doesn't matter. We see Elster walking in the devoid red landscape. Beyond the gate, emptiness. Who are you? Come closer. We see corpses of the other Elster units. I've been waiting. Alina so. For you. Elster. For us. Ariane Young. Be not afraid. Remember our promise. Elster desperately tries to open the hatch of the ship. Elster, with her torn arm next to her, the light in her eyes, fade out. The credits roll. That was Signalis, or that's what we think. Going back to the main menu, it's changed. Elster is shown in the state we last see her in, although this isn't the end. We go back and hit begin on the menu. The game starts the same way as before, but something's different. The ship we were on, the Penrose, is still functional. It hasn't crashed. We're still in space. We explore the functioning Penrose and enter a room meeting a certain someone, Ariane. Elster, you're up. They embrace with a hug and a kiss. This scene confused the hell out of me when I was playing. I thought we were looking for Alina. How does Ariane connect to Elster? They say they missed each other, and Ariane tells Elster for their 3000th cycle anniversary, their mission will be updated. Ariane puts music on, and they dance as the only two aboard the ship in the cosmos. We get back to where we were, with Ariane towering over Elster's body. Do you remember our promise? Elster's eyes open, now in the snowy fields where the Penrose crashed, now re-entering the ship, bloodied and dying. We find notes all around the ship of someone in agony wanting their life to end. We find Elster? In the LSTR model's signature white armor, dead besides a cryobed. Elster goes and takes off the unit's arm. I made a promise. I'll do anything. Taking the dead Elster's armor, Elster, with newfound conviction, readies herself to jump into the pit in the ship. A timer begins. We're back on the beach. We read a few notes, then enter the boat on the shore, which leads us into Chapter 3, Geztaltzerfall. Geztaltzerfall means shape decay, which we'll find to be a fitting name for the chapter later on. Elster returns to the same bathroom from the start of the game when we enter the Sierpinski facility. Elster looks in the mirror and says, "Something has changed." Seemingly, this is referring to her mission or promise. She believed she was looking for Alina So, due to clouded memories, but now that she remembers, it was Ariane who she was looking for. Although the facility has changed drastically, there's flesh everywhere, and the already desolate facility is in complete disarray. We trek through the distorted fleshy facility, and we eventually find a pit and of course jump down. We see Adler. You've changed. We see Adler over Falk, desperate for his commander who will never wake. It's like everything was taken apart and put back together by someone who doesn't understand how it works. I have become whole again. We see the remnants of Adler, without his skin and becoming completely corrupted by the bioresonant force that has taken a hold of everything. I wear no mask, and I hate everything. We see a woman before the line, perhaps this is hell. And now, Rotfront. Rotfront seems to be a kind of living quarter that we get to explore. Some of the enemies we fight noticeably have gas masks on, which reminds us of Ariane getting bullied by kids with gas masks. This chapter we go through is a similar process as before. Find the items we need, which are tarot cards, to progress. Parts of the area get blocked by flesh for each card we get. Some very important things occur though. One of these things is a photo we find with the full picture of Alina and someone else. The person in the photo is presumably Lilith Ito. This is the same person we saw before, but why did we see her? We can assume that this person, who is probably Lilith Ito, was the blueprint for the LSTR model's Gestalt framework. Elster believes she was looking for Alina because of memories of the Gestalt that she was based on. Only after truly remembering did she realize who she was looking for. We continue exploring this area and find Isa, missing her eye. I couldn't find her. I've looked everywhere, but she's not here anymore. I can't go on. She reaches out to us and melts into the floor. Forgive me. We find 2 photos of the sisters and the death tarot card. We do more puzzles and finally get all the tarots, and the lobby of the Rotfront building becomes covered in flesh. The light shines on a puzzle that we complete, which opens a hole. Going into the hole, we see we're back in this room from the very beginning. We take the King in Yellow and go through the door. The final safe room. Our end lies beyond this door. This is the end. Leave forever? We find a note from Adler saying all the Gestalts have died, and the replicas are next. He says it was a slow corruption of reality itself, an effect of bioresonance, affecting reality directly. We then find a note supposedly made by Falk, talking about the Red Gate. The note says, "Now I can no longer tell where Falk ends and Elster begins." Somehow, Falk has become connected to Elster. There's another note supposedly by the Elster side of Falk's mind, talking about Elster's memories of watching a movie with Ariane. We enter the room ahead and see... Why did you return? There's nothing for you here. She'll never dance with us again. No matter what we do. She doesn't even want us anymore. Falk. Both of us, we are incomplete. Let us become whole again. Our final boss has arrived, the Falk unit, considered almost godlike when it comes to replicas, floating with spears to hurl at us. Falk has a gritty theme that's great for the fight. The more we damage Falk, the room changes, and Falk gets stronger moves and shields as the fight goes on. The mechanic is to pick up Falk's spears and throw them back at her until we defeat Falk. Falk, with her last breath, says to us, "Now we are one." I've been waiting for this for a long time. Once again, you've returned. Are you really willing to go through with this once more? You've seen what happens. This world cannot take much more. This may be our last chance. If you go back, it'll all fall apart. I can't let that happen, you selfish monster. They trade blows, with Elster shooting Adler at the cost of her eye. Elster, blood falling on her suit, walks through the gate. You'll destroy everything. The Penrose 512 waits ahead. Elster goes to the latch, and this time, she wouldn't fail. We enter the Penrose and find notes written by Ariane, all of them covered in blood. We find a document titled Penrose Briefing, Phase 3. Congratulations, comrade. You've survived 3,000 cycles, reaching the final phase of the Penrose program. With the end of the operational lifetime of your replica unit approaching, it is time to prepare for the final phase of your mission. If you have not found a suitable world for landing by this point, accept that you will not. Find solace in the thought that others might be successful where you failed. As you are probably aware, your ship's spare parts and rations will soon be depleted. Life support systems and reactor shielding will soon begin to fail, and radiation may begin to leak from the cooling system. We recommend you do not attempt to prolong your suffering by reusing old filters or rationing supplies. Instead, make peace with your fate. We suggest that you ask your replica, while it is still functional, to spare you a slow and agonizing death, or that you take permanent rest in the cryogenic pod. Remember, you will die having served your nation by partaking in a glorious demonstration of our power. End of decrypted transmission. More notes from Ariane, talking about her life and how miserable she was becoming on the ship, saying that she was just slowly dying. A note with a missing date, but we know it's been at least 2,000 days since they were supposed to give up and die, and instead prolong their suffering together. Ariane desperately wants it all to end, having to choose between Elster and seeping into death. We go into the living quarters and see I couldn't keep my promise. Despite my best efforts, I eventually fell ill too. It had to end this way. This is what I believe to be the original Elster, who died of radiation and unable to keep the promise. With one room left, Elster. I can't do it. You have to do it. It's time for this to end. Please. I'm sorry. Elster ends Ariane's suffering. Then, with her promise fulfilled, passes away. that was Signalis. Although there are 3 other endings for the game. The one I got was the promise ending that we just saw. You wouldn't believe it, but despite how depressing this ending is, it is considered the good ending. The first of the 3 is the leave ending, where Elster can't bring herself to kill Ariane and curls up on the beach where the game ends. The second is the memory ending, where Elster completes the promise, but Ariane doesn't remember Elster, going all this way for someone who feels nothing towards you because she doesn't even know who you are. The things that decide whether you get this ending or the promise ending is the way you play the game. By playing good, you are rewarded with the sadder ending. The last ending is the artifact ending, which is the secret ending that took the community a while to find. By finding keys and getting a code, finding a potted plant of white lilies allows for this ending that has 6 dead Elster units. By doing this ritual, an artifact appears and an eye looks over the Penrose. Then it shows Elster and Ariane dancing. With all these possible endings out of the way, Signalis still has things I want to look back on. First off, what is the promise? The promise isn't necessarily said, but we know that it was for Elster to kill Ariane to stop her suffering. Secondly, is there a time loop? Not a time loop per se, but Elster is being brought back from the dead so she can go towards Ariane. The main person to look at when seeing the way the game turns out is Ariane. Ariane, being a bioresonant, means she could shape reality with her mind, putting the world in a dreamlike state with her memories flooding into reality and changing everything. Ariane being stuck in a state of constant perpetual agony, with these feelings spreading into reality in the Sierpinski facility, where she caused the infection with this level of bioresonance spreading. We can see this with Falk, as after she went through the gate, she became someone else completely when Ariane's bioresonant powers imprinted some of Elster's memories into her. Ariane twists the entire world so she can bring Elster back from death, in order for her to bring Ariane to the afterlife with her. It's incredibly tragic that there is no way out of this madness besides death. If Elster dies or doesn't want to fulfill the promise, Ariane will most likely bring her back so Elster can finish the job. Another recurring theme is the painting named The Isle of the Dead by Swiss painter Arnold Böcklin. Why does this painting connect to the game, having it used as symbolism multiple times? The painting depicts someone rowing a boat with a white figure and a coffin ahead. This painting seemingly depicts someone such as Death or Charon, bringing someone who has recently died to the afterlife. This perfectly fits the story of Signalis. Elster is the person rowing, bringing Ariane to her death. By the end of the game, we find that all the Geztalts, or humans, are long dead before we're in the facility. Issa, one of the only Geztalts besides the bioresonant unable to die Ariane, starts to melt when she dies. Issa wasn't even here. She was merely brought back into Ariane's dream world to propel Elster forward to find her. Ariane's memories and friends seep through her bioresonant mind in return for the nightmare. Finally, there's an underlying conflict that happens in Signalis that I didn't really note upon, because honestly when I was playing, I didn't really know what was happening. 2 places are at war, the Yusan Nation and the Yusan Empire. Yusan used to be together until the Empire's leader, the Grand Empress, passed away. With no heir to the throne, the inevitable civil war broke out in Yusan. This separated the Empire and created the nation, the Grand Empress being the one to make the first replica. Although despite this, seemingly the nation is the only side that is using bioresonant technology to create them. The nation also are the ones winning the war between the Empire and nation because of this. Although the nation spreads plenty of propaganda throughout the game, so what we know for certain is a bit sketchy. Now for a shorter section, I wanted to give some personal thoughts I had about the game, and some parts I thought were a bit flawed. The gameplay is good. While survival horror isn't my first choice for a game, Signalis does it pretty tastefully. I really like the aim mechanic where the more time you have, the more damage you do, which I haven't really seen anywhere else. Although something that gets really annoying over time is the enemies getting back up. I understand, truly, the first enemy we meet gets back up. The enemies are corrupted monsters. It makes sense that they get back up, but the flares you can find in the game to keep the enemies down just feel very, very fake. Also, getting closer to the end of the game, the gameplay started to drag a little. Some of the puzzles I didn't feel like I was using my brain, and that I was just going on a fetch quest to continue playing the game. Also, only having 6 inventory slots gets annoying really quickly, when backtracking for just a few bullets can make or break your life sometimes. Apparently this was even worse before I played, where a friend told me that the flashlight, something that is a free slot now, used to take a slot, making it even harder. Also, there are a few parts of the game that just don't have a map, that made me feel like I was just running into walls until something happened. The art of the game, no question, is by far Signalis' strong suit. Watching the Sierpinski facility get more fleshy and destroyed is really, really cool. And the music is honestly pretty great. While it might not have that every song is a banger flair, everything works. With this song that means I Love the Dead is incredible, and hits insanely hard when playing. When I first got into a fight in the game, this track plays that sounds like gunshots are going off, and it instantly made me realize the kind of game I was playing. Signalis truly has an ambient masterpiece of an OST. Signalis has one of the most interesting stories in any game I have ever played, with one of the most tragic endings I have ever seen, knowing that Elster is going through all of this effort just to have her lover die. Elster was already dead, and the closer she gets to stopping Ariane and stopping the spread of her bioresonance, Elster herself dies along with her, with visuals that feel so artistically driven that brings the game into a beautiful, twisted, bioresonant combination. And with that, there's only one thing to ask. Do you remember